Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and we do have breaking news from the Philadelphia Police Department. They have finally come up with the identity of the little boy in the box. It's been over 60 years, but they've finally done it. And they've done it through incredible DNA techniques, familial DNA. And I'm going to put a link below to the press conference and all the information that they set forth as to how they pursued this case over the years. It's phenomenal. Every effort they ever made since the very beginning to exhuming his body to get DNA and having it not work out, and then re-exhuming his body again to get more DNA, to going through all the latest procedures to try to find out who this boy was. And they have finally done it. They have given him a name, and his name is Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Joseph Augustus Zarelli. What they have found out is that the parents are no longer alive of this child. And so I can pretty much guarantee there is not going to be any kind of arrest or conviction in this case. They believe this is a domestic situation, because the child not only was beaten before his body was disposed of, but he was also emaciated, which to me means that he lived in an environment that he did not receive the proper care. And because of that, he most likely died in residence at the hands of one of the parents. And we're not going to know which one, probably. We're going to have to accept the fact that the boy has been identified, but that's as far as it can go. So what does this mean? Because I know a lot of people have been waiting for this day. They believe that finally this boy can be laid to rest properly, not going to be unknown anymore, finally has a name, gives him an importance that he's missed in his life. But I know a lot of people are going to be saddened that it took this long, which is not the fault of the police or all the people working on this case, but just that they had no way to gather that information prior. And this is actually the point I would like to make. And while I am amazed at all the work that's been done, and I want to let you know that the legacy this boy will leave us, along with all the people that worked to find out who he was, the legacy is going to be the massive improvement in being able to determine the identities of persons who previously would never be able to be identified, and they'll be able to do it more quickly. So if this technology had been available when this little boy was murdered, they might have been able to identify who he was and track down the parents, track down the person who did it, and bring that person to justice when it should have been done. But I mean, they did a lot of work on this case when this first happened, using every other method that they had. Since they didn't have DNA ability at the time, they used every other method. And that's very well described in the press conference. So there's a lot of information that I wasn't even aware of how hard they worked on this and how hard they worked over the years to try to, okay, let's try again to find out who this boy is and find out who did this to him. Unfortunately, they never were able to find out anything until the familial DNA. So this new methodology is going to be extraordinarily helpful in not having a case go cold like this in the future. So the legacy is that this may not happen to too many people from now on because of this, wonderful DNA technology. So, I think that for all of you who have been waiting to find out Joseph's name, we can say that, Joseph, thank you for helping us, for being that boy, not only in the box, but in the minds of many, many people. So, sorry, kind of got to me there. But I want to mention one other thing. Get control here. One other thing, and this I think is extremely important. And that question is this: for all the police work that was done back in the day, why were they never able to determine who this child was? What went wrong? And I want to address this because we have focused on this one little boy, but across the country and across the world, children are murdered every day. They're abused. They're abused physically. They're abused sexually. They are abused within their families. They're abused by relatives. They're abused by people in the neighborhood. And somehow they fall through the cracks. That at the time that they are then murdered, when they leave this world after a miserable life, often they aren't even remembered and nothing's ever done about it. They just sort of vanish. And why is that? And why are even the ones that we know the names of, children like Haley Cummings, Aisha Degree, so many children who have clearly been murdered? Why is there no resolution on those cases? How does a child just disappear like that and get killed like that? Haley Cummings' body's never been found. Aisha Degree's body's never been found. So we have some ideas of what happened to Haley Cummings, not so much with Aisha Degree. These are just two cases that I've profiled, and you can find that in my playlist. How does this happen? That it just stops right there. And this is what I want to talk about, because I would like not to see that the police have to get involved in finding out who a child is and what happened to that child, and then who did it to that child. I would like to believe that we want children to enter this world loved, enter this world wanted, not byproducts of flings, byproducts of narcissism. Just, hey, wouldn't this be fun if I could have a kid? Hey. I want every child to enter this world into a family where the parents of this child want that child, are prepared to care for that child, are prepared, they have enough finances to care for that child, enough time to care for that child, enough resources, enough energy, enough emotions to care for that child. So the child comes in to a family who says, this is the best thing that ever happened to us. We have enough birth control in this world. One would think we would have managed it by now, but people are careless. People are selfish. And some people are abusive. So there are times when women, even in a marital relationship, end up with not too much of a choice, especially in many parts of the world where they're forced, essentially a marital rape, and they're forced to have children that they don't have the energy or the finances to take care of well, and they maybe don't have a very good husband or partner to help them. So a child is born into a family that isn't caring properly for that child. And when they become exhausted and have too many of their own problems, they take it out on that child. And then we go to the larger community. Where are they? Where was this little boy when somebody, this family, was doing something to this boy for years? Where was the community? Where were the neighbors? Where was the church? Where was the school? Where was anybody? How did this child just go missing and nobody even had a clue the child went missing? Did people not care enough? And that's something we still have a problem with today. When we have communities that neighbors don't know each other, when we have communities that allow so much crime and drugs and other issues to be going on, that they're so overwhelmed that the children just, they're like, well, we can't do any more for that kid. The whole family's a mess, and we've got other families that are a mess. Social services can't even take care of it. They try to go in, they pull children, they throw them in foster homes, which may not be any better. And the child just loses out. And then one day that child ends up dead, and may or may not be any justice for that child, because they rolled snake eyes when they were born, and they died for the same reason. They just had really, really unfortunate circumstances. But that's where we come in. We as human beings, we must do something for these children. We must make sure that they come into a world that cares about them. And so, much as I love all the genealogy stuff and the DNA stuff, I'm thrilled about it because, of course, my interest is in profiling and homicide investigation, and I want to see justice. I want to see people who are dangerous get taken off the streets and not hurt other children. If they can hurt this child, they can hurt other children as well. So I want to see justice, but I also want to see that we stop having children become victims. They're the most innocent victims of all. And oddly enough, we have adults that go missing and adults that are murdered that we pay way more attention to than children, and babies especially. Babies are murdered all the time, and we kind of shrug our shoulders and go, oh, well, you know, that girl went to the prom and threw a baby in a trash can. Oh, well, that baby was a human being. And that's all we have to say about it. And the girl gets a slap on the wrist, and that's the end of it because, well, she's just, you know, she couldn't handle it. What about that child? Yet we could have a 30-year-old go missing, and everybody cares. So the odd thing is, the smaller the human being is, the younger they are, the less we actually do care, which is kind of frightening. And across the world, we see children abused, raped, sex trafficked, killed in war, becoming they're brought into the army as child soldiers at the age of 7 and 8 years old. This goes on everywhere in the world, and no country is immune from this. But that's our responsibility. We have responsibility to the youngest on this planet because they are the most defenseless. So anyway, that's kind of my soapbox on this because I'm very glad they found out who this little boy was. Again, let me say his name, Joseph Augustus Zarelli. And I want you to look at all the work that was done, the amazing work done from the genealogy, just phenomenal. And all the work that was put in over time. And it is going to make a huge difference in future homicide investigations. So hooray for the Philadelphia Police Department and everybody who worked with them. I salute them for an incredible work, just incredible work. Also below, we'll put a link to my analysis of this case. The boy in the box will be my video on the case. And I hope that you go in and take a look at it so you can understand how I analyzed the case and how this little boy came to the situation he was in. And I'm glad they've come to this conclusion, at least after all this time. Thank you for being here. And if you've never been to one of my videos before, please do subscribe to the channel. Please do like the video and check my playlist for anything, other cases you're interested in. And also you can go to the search engine on YouTube and just put in Profiler Pat Brown and the name of the victim or the name of the killer and see if I've analyzed that case. This is an educational channel for profiling and crime scene analysis, and I hope people learn from it. Thank you very much for being here. Bye.